Hello, my loves, and welcome back to another episode of the podcast, the solo episode today of Wild, Wise, and Whole. So, today is going to be a little snippy, quick, informative episode, and I'm going to be talking about three signs that you may be experiencing that your nervous system is asking for some support. So, this is based on my own experience. I think the last week I've experienced a lot more psychosomatic symptoms with that trauma anniversary coming up. And what I mean by psychosomatic is those mind body kind of symptoms that you may experience in your body that you know are linked to something like, chronic stress, an emotion that you're suppressing, a trauma experience that you've had. So I just wanted to talk about three kind of common things that I experienced. I was having conversations with women last week. Like, so many people were messaging me like, oh my god, this is how I live every single day, or this is how I feel. And a lot of the clients that I work with, when they experience these like somatic symptoms, this is a lot of what they're coming with. So I just want to kind of go into those, explain a little bit about why these are indicators that you need to give your nervous system some love and some attention. And I also think it's really interesting just to note and kind of unpack in this episode that so many of the symptoms that we live with that are indicators that you're in chronic dysregulation, or like if you've suppressed your trauma or you're suppressing emotions, like they're not normal, but so many of us have adjusted to living with these psychosomatic symptoms that we believe they're normal, but they're actually not. And I think for me this week, it's been a reminder because all of these symptoms like flared up again in my body as that anniversary like came closer. And I haven't felt this way for so long, but it took me right back to last year when I was like in the depth of the trauma processing, like when just before my nervous system hit burnout actually. And it just reminded me like, oh my god, this is how I felt every single day for like 7 months. And now I don't feel that way because I've done the nervous system work, and because I've processed a lot out of my body and I don't suppress as much anymore. Like, I'm not living in a survival response anymore, and like I've really changed my relationship with stress on a whole. um like, so many of those symptoms have subsided, and it just reminded me like, wow, this is not normal to feel this way. And it's really interesting because I woke up and one day I had like a lot of inflammation. My knees were really sore, my toes were swollen for some reason. My lower back was aching, my shoulders were aching, my jaw was like I was clamping it shut in the middle of the night. It was so painful. And I remember waking up and just being this just feels so bad. Like, even in my sleep, like even when I'm not doing anything, it's like my body is still working like overtime, right? Like, I can feel the difference in my body because of that cortisol, because of that stress that I'm feeling, because those emotions that are rising in relation to my trauma. So like I just really, really felt that, and like it was harder to get through the week that I've just had than it was to go on this journey of like processing my trauma and like working on my nervous system. And I actually said that on Instagram. I was like, when you live like this, it's harder. Like, coming back into this place is like, it's such a struggle. Like, and I remember saying, I've only been awake for 3 hours and it's a struggle because I'm in pain. I notice how much I'm suppressed and what I'm feeling in my body. I feel disconnected from myself. I feel really overwhelmed. Like, this is so hard to just even feel like I can get through today. And the fatigue was just like insane. So I also just want to mention that because I think it can feel like the harder option, and because you're stepping into the unknown, right? When you're doing your nervous system work, or you're doing like this somatic trauma healing work, like it can feel so scary to begin with because you're almost stepping into a void and you're like, I don't know what's going to come on the other side of this. Like, I don't know what's required to kind of break these cycles and break these patterns and heal my nervous system, for example. But like, I can honestly say, from someone who has been there last year and like revisited that place this week, when you get to the other side of that, and like when you even heal your nervous system and like you change just like your relationship with stress, right? Like, that is so, like, it's so different. And I can tell you, like, please do that work, because when you get to the other side of it, like, how you're going to feel is so much better and so much easier, even if you experience like temporary uncomfortability and temporary pain. It's like when you get to the other side of that, honestly, like, you'll reflect back and think, oh my God, how did I live like that for so long? How did I have so much tension? How was I in pain? How did I like have so much stress in my life? How did I suppress my needs, my emotions, my desires, my wants, you know? Like, it's it's tough to be back in that space. So like, I just want to talk about these signs that your nervous system is asking for support, because I think also there's like less obvious signs, and then obviously there's more like prominent signs, you know, like when you, if you do hit burnout, I think there's way more prominent signs that at times can literally force you to stop. So your nervous system can fully collapse and you can stop, like you can't get out of bed. You know, maybe you get something like an autoimmune. And I remember last year for me, I remember saying to my friend, like, I have to change something because I know I can see the path I'm going down, right? Like, I remember saying to my friend, I can see sitting in a doctor's room and he's telling me I've got an autoimmune disease. Like, and I knew that was where I was heading. And I think I knew that because I had the awareness as a somatic psychotherapist. I'd done training, I'd read the books, like I knew these things, and I knew I was on that path to becoming one of those people if I did not change my relationship and heal my nervous system, change my relationship with stress, sorry. So I think for a lot of people, there's like less obvious signs. And I think for 99.9% of us, we are living with those less obvious signs of nervous system dysregulation, you know, like even tension in our bodies, like it runs so deep and it's so like etched into our tissues, and we learn to adjust to that. Stress, we learn to adapt and to adjust to it, but actually, like, those symptoms and those signs are going to be there, but they've probably just become an everyday part of your life. Which is frightening, to be honest, I think. So we're going to talk about like the less obvious signs, but for you, I also want you to relate this episode to like your own body and your own nervous system and your own experiences, because remember, there's so many different symptoms of being dysregulated, and I'm just going to talk about 3 of those today. So this is why it's like when I do R&R, like the nervous system program that I do, like I educate women on how we can notice when our nervous system needs love, and like really give them that education, because I think that education and that awareness is so important, so they can start to notice, oh my God, these are all of the signs and symptoms in my own body and in my own life that really, like, my nervous system is screaming out that it needs attention. So I think we're good at noticing the big red flags, and I think we're noticing, or I think we're good at noticing burnout, you know, like we know when we get to that point. So for me, last year, when I hit burnout, and I'll never forget the day, it was a weird day. So I was coming up to this point of burnout, of course I was, and there was just a lot of things going on. And on the day I actually got signed off work by the doctor, I remember I woke up in the morning and I was absolutely fine in the morning. Like, I went for a walk around the park, I done a meditation on the bench, I done some breath work, and I felt so like connected to my body and I felt fine. The minute I got back in this flat and the minute I started getting ready for work, this like anxiety and dread came over me. And I remember I was sat in my living room and I was just like, I can't go to work. Like, I cannot go to work. And I remember I messaged my friend Annie and I said to her, like, I don't know what's happening because 10 minutes ago I was fine. But today the thought of going to work is completely overwhelming me. So obviously that's the first massive red flag, right? Like, the fact that I'm in my living room, like flooded with anxiety, like my body was screaming out, do not go to work. You cannot go to work. So obviously I get ready and obviously I start going to work because I'm like, I don't know what's going on. On the way to my job, I started crying my eyes out in the car. And I remember I messaged Annie and I was like, why am I crying? Like, what's going on? And she was like, good. She was like, you've hit this point in burnout now. Like, you're just completely overwhelmed, Lydia. Like, you need to phone the doctors when you get to work. So I remember driving to work and I was in floods of tears. And I got into the office and I just sat down and I was just completely and utterly overwhelmed. And I phoned the doctor and thankfully I got an appointment that day. And I remember saying, like, this is how I'm feeling. And instantly it was like, you're burnt out. Like, you need, like, I'm going to sign you off work for 2 weeks and you need to go home now and you need to rest. And they were like big signs and symptoms that something was going on. But before that, there'd been so many like subtle symptoms that I was experiencing. That naturally, as we do as humans, we keep moving through, right? We keep getting up, we keep moving through, we keep doing what we need to do because we have to go to work to pay the bills. Like, we have to do these things. Maybe you're listening to this and you have to get up and look after your children. You have to go to work. Like, you have to do the housework. Like, there's all of these things happening that you can't just go, right, I'm going to completely switch off from. Like, I'm not going to do them. And I think one day your body is going to push back to you and go, like, you need to stop. Like, I've been telling you that you need to stop. I've been showing you that you need to stop and you're not listening to me. And that was my day where my body was just like, you're going to stop because, like, you can't continue the way that you are. And I share that story to kind of open this episode because I speak to so many clients who say to me, like, I just cry in the car for no reason. I feel completely overwhelmed for no reason. And I'm like, babes, your nervous system is giving you red flag signs and symptoms that you are burnt out. You need to stop and you need to rest. And even though they're like big red flag signs, again, when we're in that moment or when we're experiencing these things, or maybe we don't have the knowledge and the awareness, like, we don't know what's going on. So we kind of bypass those big red signs, the panic, the overwhelm. But I think there's so many like subtle signs that, like I've said, are showing you, and you don't need to get to the point where you're signed off work with burnout. Like, and this is the piece, right? It's like, you don't need to be living in chronic dysregulation. You don't need to be stressed to fucking death every single day. Because once you have the information, let's say for example, once you sign up to R&R, it's like, I say this to the girls, you have that lifetime information. Like, you have the knowledge, you have the awareness, you have the tools, you have the modules, you have the somatic library, but now you have one thing that cannot be taken away, and that's knowledge. You have awareness, you have somatic awareness now. So at any point in your life, it doesn't matter if it's 10 years down the line, I have designed this program so you'll be able to go, my nervous system, like, I need to give it some attention. And you break that loop of like living in that chronic dysregulation, and like completely disregarding your own needs. And you can notice before it gets to an extreme point where you're completely in a panic attack, you're completely overwhelmed, you're completely burnt out, you're completely shut down. Like, you waste days of time because you just cannot get out of bed and do anything. And it's like, right, it doesn't have to get to this point. That's why knowledge is power. And these symptoms that I'm going to talk about are often ones that like we brush off or we don't connect to stress at all. So today I want to share these signs, and I just want to like help you have that awareness because I think it's really important. So let's get into the first sign and symptom. So fatigue that doesn't feel physical. Okay, so this is one of the things that I experienced last week. Interestingly, today I woke up and I feel really energized. So I've just noticed that, and I think that's super interesting because the anniversary was yesterday. Doesn't matter how much sleep you get, you feel tired to your bones, okay? Like constant tiredness, constant fatigue. And the way that you can kind of gauge this, if it's linked to your nervous system, is how are you sleeping? So if you feel like you're getting enough sleep, if you feel like you're implementing rest, so maybe if a weekend you're like, right, okay, I'm just gonna have a slow weekend, but you still just can't like get that energy back in your body, like you still feel tired, everything feels hard work, right? this is a sign that your nervous system it needs attention, and this is one of the more subtler signs that your nervous system needs attention. Because I always say this to clients, like, if you're living in a stress response, or if you have suppressed trauma, right, or you suppress your needs, or you don't speak about your emotions, I say to clients all the time, you do not realize how much fucking energy the body is taken to suppress that. You don't realize how much energy it takes when you are stuck in fight or flight, how much energy the body utilizes when it is constantly being flushed with cortisol and adrenaline. It uses your natural life force energy, all of your reserves. Imagine like a battery, right? It uses that battery power. So without you even doing anything, there's that level of constant fatigue, because under the surface your body's working so hard. Like, your nervous system, when you're in a survival response, like, literally imagine you're in a forest with a bear. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference. So imagine you're in the forest with a bear and you're on high alert, right? And you can't fully settle, you can't rest, you can't like drop into safety and completely switch off. The same applies to us in our everyday lives when our nervous system doesn't get a chance to settle and it doesn't get a chance to restore and recalibrate. So we are constantly in that survival, like, and it might be so low level you might not realize it. And these cues of unsafety might be things in your relationship, things in your life, things to do with your job, the people around you, the past traumas, certain emotions, commuting to work, like just feeling overwhelmed, the mental load, your to-do list, maybe how you feel about yourself. Like, the list is endless of things that can trigger your nervous system into a survival response. So when that happens, of course you're not going to be sitting down against the tree, like using that bird in the forest analogy, like soaking in the sunshine and taking a deep breath, and like, you're not going to be doing that. So, and that is the same. So your natural life force energy isn't working to like revive your body. And I think a nice actionable tip that you can take from that is like taking a full breath, like keeping it really simple. Breath work, we make it so complicated, but breath work is as simple as taking a deep breath into your body. So you don't even have to sit down for 5 minutes and breathe. Just check in throughout the day. How am I breathing? Because another sign that you're in a stress response, or there's kind of some stress going on in your body, is shallow breathing. So many people, when they first come to me for somatic work, or they first come to me with breath work, before we even get into the deep breathing, we look at how they are breathing, because so many people are not breathing into their bodies. This keeps you disconnected. This keeps you almost in like a functional freeze, like it keeps you in that, if you're feeling stressed, it keeps that stress response active in the body. Because again, using that bear in the woods analogy, if there was a bear in the woods, you wouldn't be taking a full deep breath. You would be doing short, sharp, shallow breathing, stress breathing. You wouldn't have the capacity when you're in that like fight or flight to take a full, deep, slow breath in. So when you do that, it sends cues to your nervous system and your body that you're in a safe environment, that it doesn't need to be in that stress response. And that is going to help your cortisol levels and your adrenaline levels, okay? Really surface level, but something that's like super easy for you to action right now when you listen to this episode. So I'm going to invite you, take a breath deep into your body, as deep as you can go, and just exhale out your mouth, like keep it nice and soft, and just let that breath almost fall out. Nice. And take another one for me. Nice. Inhale in. Let your shoulders drop. That, less than 30 seconds, is going to be really, really beneficial. And then the next one is avoidance patterns. So again, when we think about ways that we avoid procrastination, big one. If you're a female leader, if you're showing up in business, if you're in a relationship, in your life, you know, there's things that you need to do, there's patterns that you want to break, there's goals that you want to achieve, there's things that are on your to-do list. You find that you procrastinate. Even the smallest of things, like maybe you get in and you know you want to get a shower, put your tan on, do your hair, and you just procrastinate with everything. Avoidance patterns, so avoiding things or feeling overwhelmed by small decisions. Again, if I link it back to give you a real-time example for me, last year when I was in burnout, there's so much I was avoiding. Like there's so much I did not have the energy to do, and I procrastinated on a lot of things. So stuff that I wanted to get done would take me so long, and that was a pattern of mine for years. And I never realised, like, I would have to-do lists and I wouldn't get through them, or I'd start something and then I'd fall off all the time. Like I couldn't keep that momentum. I couldn't keep doing the things that I needed to do. And that was like a sign that I was dysregulated in my nervous system. So this can relate to that flight response. So when we think about being in that sympathetic driver, so to simplify it, your sympathetic driver is most commonly referred to on social media as your fight or flight, but your sympathetic is also really good because it's mobilizing energy. Using another analogy that's really simple for you to grasp what I'm saying, it's your accelerator in your car. Okay, so it's your moving forward action. So when we're in that sympathetic, but when we're chronically stuck in that sympathetic, we go into what's known as your fight or your flight. So you fight towards, you face that threat head on. So again, imagine bear in the woods, you'll run towards that bear, or you flight, so you flee. Okay, so when we're stuck in chronic dysregulation, that flight response can be there. So we want to do things, but we avoid. You know, maybe there's conversations we want, but we avoid. Maybe there's things that we want to change, but we avoid. And it's being in that like flight response in our nervous system. Or there can be a piece around the fear of failure. So again, if we think about ways and reasons why we might procrastinate, you know, fear of failure, perfectionism. So all of these things, when we look at it from a nervous system level, if these things feel really unsafe for you, so failure feels unsafe, or not doing a perfect job feels unsafe for you, it's like you're going to procrastinate on those tasks and you're not going to do what you need to do. And I think also the big one that I see is like avoidance of exactly that, doing the things that we need to do, like taking decisions and making action, asking everybody else around you because you cannot make a decision. That's like another sign and symptom that you're dysregulated in your nervous system and there's something going on. And again, something that you can do that is like really easy to action from this is, like, I would say notice when you're in procrastination and just start to feel into your body, like what are you noticing, become aware. So if you notice there's something that you keep wanting to do, or if you're in that moment where you're like, I need to do something, but wow, like half an hour has passed and I'm scrolling on my phone, like just take a minute to check in with yourself and just be like, okay, what am I noticing? And it's not going to feel unsafe. So like this is why that doing the nervous system work is really important, because a lot of these concepts that I talk about, the logical rational minds will come in and be like, Lydia, why would a to-do list be unsafe for me? Like I don't understand. So it's like when you do that deeper nervous system work, all of these concepts start to make sense, and they start to make sense in terms of your body, and you start to really get that education on like why doing XYZ might feel unsafe for your nervous system, right? But one of the reasons, like if I can simplify it, is because again, when you're in a survival response and when you're flushed with stress in your nervous system, if it's not necessary for you to do and it's not deemed like survival, then your nervous system doesn't have the capacity for it. If your capacity is very limited, anything outside of what is deemed utmost necessary is going to feel hard to either A, start, B, implement, or 3, maintain. Okay, so that is another big kind of sign that your nervous system needs love and attention. And checking in with yourself, if you're in like that little zoned out, numbed out, oh, I know I need to do something, but I'm putting it off. It's just like checking in with yourself, like, what are you noticing? And then what you can do is just like take a breath in. Really simple, like what I've just said. Take a deep breath in and just like even notice things in your external environment that bring you into a more like ventral vagal, which is connected. So that's resourced and resourceful in your nervous system, which is where you're going to take action when you're in that space. You're going to be more inclined to stop avoiding things and to be able to look at the things that you need to look at and do the things that you need to do, right? And then the last one is emotional numbness or disconnection. So again, this is like a really, really, really common one that I see with a lot of my clients. This is what I experienced this week. I literally woke up and it was like the off button had just been pressed and I couldn't like connect into my internal body. And I felt fine, like on the surface in a lot of ways, I felt fine, but like I knew there was something going on, like I was disconnected from myself. Massive one that I see with clients, like massive one in the conversations that I'm having. Big, big, big theme in this cohort of R&R, the girls that are doing it now. So numbness or disconnection. So you might go like, I'm fine. It's like, okay, what does fine mean? Tell me what fine means. What does that feel like? What are you noticing? And clients will be like, oh, well, actually, I don't notice anything. Like, I don't actually really feel connected. I don't feel present. So that is a big one. Okay. So not feeling connected to yourself or others. When we are in our ventral vagal, in our nervous system, again, resourced and resourceful, what is most commonly referred to as your rest and digest on social media, that is where you have ease, clarity, presence, connection. You want to connect to others, you feel connected to yourself, you feel able to cope with things better, you feel just like way more resource, right, with more capacity. When you're in that space, there'll be more connection. When you're in one of those survival responses in your nervous system because of whether stress, suppressing of emotions, trauma you've experienced, it disconnects you from it. So if you're shut down, you'll withdraw. You don't want to be around people, so you withdraw to keep safe. If you're in your sympathetic, you'll either flee, avoid, or you charge towards something. So you go, but you still feel disconnected from yourself, right? You feel disconnected from the world around you. You feel like time's going a million miles an hour. So when you're in one of those two spaces, because it's a survival response, you're less prone to connection. You're less prone to connection with yourself, with your life and others around you. And then this is when we think about it in terms of the freeze or the shutdown in your nervous system. So again, using the car analogy, this is the brake. Okay, so being in your sympathetic fight or flight, foot on the accelerator going a million miles an hour, you're not stopping the car. The gas is coming on, you're ignoring it, you're go, 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 go. What do you think is going to happen? The gas is going to run out. Same analogy with your body, right? You're going to go into shutdown or you're going to burn out. You cannot sustain that. And this is the other thing with nervous system work is people think they can kind of outrun the body. But I'm telling you right now, your body one day is going to push back at you and it will not be fucking pleasant when it does. Whether that's a disease, whether that's uncomfortability, whether that's chronic pain, whether that's an autoimmune disease, whether that's a life when you get to the end and you think, I suppressed my needs and my wants. I didn't speak my truth. I didn't live my life for me. Whatever way it is, it's going to come back. And this, I say this for clients as well, like when it comes to your trauma, we think we suppress our traumas, but I'm telling you, they are in your life every single day. You might not notice how they're there because in your mind, maybe you've compartmentalized your trauma or you've just learned to adapt and survive after it, which makes absolute sense. But when clients start working with me and they look at this type of stuff, they're like, oh my fucking God, I thought it wasn't in my life, but it's showing up every single day, isn't it? And I'm like, yeah. Whether that's your intimacy, your connection, you know, your truth, like how much joy you feel, how much happiness you feel. Like I see it so much with women. So when we think about that from like the perspective of our nervous system, when we've been pushing for so long, we drop into that freeze, and that freeze is like you slam your foot on the brake and you pull the handbrake up. It's like, what do you think is going to happen to the car? Same is going to happen to your body, right? Like, it's not pretty. So when you're in this freeze response, or this shutdown state in your nervous system, you withdraw, you immobilize. That is how it keeps you safe. You pull back. So have you ever been in a space and you're just like, oh, I just don't want to go out. I don't want to see anyone. I don't want to do anything. I can't be bothered. You feel like overwhelmed, but you also feel like a sense of hopelessness or helplessness. Like, I can't really do anything and I don't want to do anything. There's no like joy to do anything. There's no like desire or motivation to do anything. That's a freeze response. Like, all you want to do is kind of just like hide away. And I experienced that last week. Every single morning when I woke up for that, like those 3 days, I wanted to stay in bed with the curtains drawn. I wanted to get a hoodie. I wanted to put my hood up and I just wanted to hide. And that's how I knew. I could feel it in my nervous system that I was in that like freeze response and that shutdown. So when you experience that like emotional disconnection and disconnection from others, so like your children, your partner, your friend, your life, man, like we get this one chance at life, right? And so many of us are so fucking disconnected from it. So many of us are disconnected from our bodies, from our pleasure, from our life force energy, from our children, from our partners, like from our needs, from the beauty in every day, like just like this, like it, like life, right? Like, we're so disconnected, but we're also disconnected from like our anger, our rage, like our voice, our truth, our power, and we just cut it all off, and we just feel quite like blasé about it. And that's a big sign that your nervous system needs some love and some attention, because I can tell you from my own experience and from countless sessions with clients, like, it does not need to be that way. And when you're disconnected, obviously the nervous system is doing that because as a survival response, like, it's easier sometimes not to feel, but like underneath the surface, like the amount, linking it back to the first thing that I said, the amount of energy and effort it's taking you to suppress those things is like, you've got no idea. And that is going to be causing like this detrimental impact. Imagine like eroding happening. Imagine like the waves are lapping the shore, right? And there's like a rock. You don't think anything of it, but over time, every single time that like wave laps the ocean, it's slowly eroding that rock and it's slowly chipping away. And before you know it, a couple of years time, the coast has moved back and you're like, wow, look how much further back it's gone, because the ocean has been there just like chipping away and chipping away. And the same, use that analogy when we think about your body. Okay, so you might think now it's like, well, it feels like the better option. Like, I'd rather do this than go into all of that. But it's like, even that over there, right, is going to be causing a detriment. And one day it's going to catch up with you. I know that from my own experience. Like, I suppressed and kind of was in my hyper independent, like very, very, very chronic stress response for a decade. And it caught up with me. And it wasn't easy and it wasn't pretty when it caught up with me. So I know from personal experience that it does do that. So I think like a really nice actionable tip you can do is a really nice somatic technique if you are feeling in functional freeze or shutdown is squeeze your arms or squeeze your body. So bringing some like really nice touch into your body is something that can start to bring you out of that freeze. So squeeze your legs, squeeze along your arms, up your shoulders. And that's something really nice that you can do. Squeeze your hands together, kind of bring your palms into a fist and then bring them out. So stuff like this, like really gentle movement, can start to bring you out of that freeze response. And then also like, there's ways that you can start to become more attuned with your emotions so they don't feel overwhelming. And this is one of the things that I go into in R&R, is like a whole portion of R&R is teaching you how to track your emotions, become attuned to your felt sense in your body, and to ride the rhythm and the waves of your emotions so you don't get emotionally overwhelmed, so you can emotionally regulate yourself, so you don't become like completely overwhelmed by what you're experiencing if that's new for you or that feels unsafe for you, right? So let's talk about why this matters. And I think these subtle signs matter because when they go unnoticed, they can escalate into burnout, anxiety, and physical health issues. I've touched on that. Like, where this can lead is like terrifying. And I've been reading the Gabor Mate book recently, When the Body Says No. Honestly, it is terrifying when we suppress our emotions or when we are so chronically dysregulated in our bodies. The impact on our emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual health it's scary. So that's why it's important, right? And it's also important because it's so fucking hard to live life burnt out. It's so hard to live life in a survival response, and you get one shot at life. You get one shot. Like today, this is like the only moment that you can guarantee right now. Like you can't guarantee anything else, right? So it's like, why would you not want to be in this one experience that you have? Why would you not want to be in your body? Why would you not want to be connected and present with your children, your partners? Like, why would you not want to vocalize your needs? Like, why would you want to wait until it gets to burnout? Why would you want to, or why would you rather manage overwhelming anxiety every single day? You know, it's like, why would you want to feel tense and pain and bloating issues in your body every day and brain fog and drag yourself out of bed every day? Or just keep going and going and going and going and going and never experience the joy and the simplicity of presence and rest? You know, it's like, why would you want to keep sacrificing? And I can say that now because I'm out the other side of it, but when I was in it last year, it's like I didn't even have this awareness to know that this was happening, which again is why I'm so passionate about sharing this knowledge with people. But these are like your body's whispers to reconnect back, right? Like this is your body in conversation with you saying, hello, hi, there's a problem here. Can I have some love, please? Can I have some attention? Like, can you help me? And I think this is really important, or highlights why it's really important to have that like proactive regulation to build resilience. And this is why R&R, the nervous system program that I do, like I genuinely believe everybody should do that program, because I think once you have that knowledge, like it's a fucking game changer going forward. It's a game changer for you. It's a game changer for children, any children you have. It's a game changer for your partners. It's a game changer for your friends, your family, how you experience like everything, because we all have a nervous system and our nervous system is working all of the time. It doesn't matter if you're asleep next to your partner or you're snuggled up to your teddy bear, your nervous system is happening, is taking in information every 0.4 milliseconds. It never stops working. It's a core fundamental piece of your body, of your life, how you relate to others, how you attach to others, how you think, how you feel, how you respond, how resilient you are, how much capacity you have, like how you respond to your children, how you respond to conflict, how you communicate. Like it's so much to do with your nervous system. So I'm just going to kind of touchstone R&R here, because I think if you do listen to this and it resonates, like I'm going to invite you to even book a call or kind of have a little feeling to R&R, because I think it's a program, like I've said, that is so much more than those 14 weeks, because it is so fundamental that human beings understand their nervous system health. And within the 14 weeks, I help you understand these cues from your body and build tools to regulate your nervous system gently and effectively. And the reason why it's so different from just going online and putting into Instagram somatic practitioner and doing some somatic techniques is because that just becomes another thing if you don't actually understand your own body, right? Like you don't understand what things are making you feel unsafe, how to repattern those things that make you feel unsafe. And I actually sent an email about this recently, and I said to people, we think with stuff like this sometimes we can go it alone, but if something feels unsafe for you and you have no awareness, how do you then make that safe? Like, how do you do that? I didn't know how to do that last year. I had to figure that out. But one of the massive things was support for me. Like, I had consistent support to help me understand these things, to get me to the point where I'm so in tune with my own body and my own nervous system. Like, I notice when I'm dysregulated. I can be compassionate towards myself. I notice when there's a flare up of my trauma. I notice when I'm in a stress response. And I think it's so important for you to understand your own body based on the life that you've lived and the experience that you've had, and how this is kind of showing in your everyday life, to help you start to build safety and connection in your own body and regulate your nervous system effectively. And it's a beautiful blend of therapeutic support. For 14 weeks, you've basically got a somatic psychotherapist in your back pocket helping you in real time connect with yourself, but also like take that work that we're doing and apply that to real time situations. So for example, in this round of R&R, when Christmas come up, we had a full call about how to navigate the challenges of Christmas and how to navigate maybe testing conversations, or like how to navigate parents without getting overly triggered, and how to manage any anger or any overwhelm that people might be experiencing. So they literally had in real time me helping them with things they've struggled with for years, Christmases that have been triggering for them for years. They had that opportunity to bring that into the session and to get that support. And then over Christmas, they were implementing the tools, the techniques, they were remembering things that I've said, they were remembering that support that they had, and it changed their experience of Christmas. Like, that's amazing. Like, and this is what is so like mega about R&R. So if this episode has resonated with you, I'm going to invite you to book a call and have a conversation with me. And you don't have to sign up. It's not a pressure call. It's just like, if you feel like this resonates and you want to speak to me about it, like, let's just chat, right? Like, let's just see if this is a good fit for you. Or maybe you feel like you want to read the landing page and you might make your decision to join us from there. So I'll link everything below. I'll link the link to book a call with me, but I'll also link the link to the landing page for R&R so you can have a little feel into it. And I'm shouting this from the rooftops, and I just don't care. I'm like, women, and I think this week has made me realise why we need this work and why it's so important, because to go back to those psychosomatic symptoms and wake up and feel that way every single day, I was like, no, that we don't have to feel this way. And I know we don't have to feel this way because I've done the work to not feel that way. And to process my trauma and to change my relationship with stress and to be in my body and to reduce my inflammation and to reduce my tension and my pain and my bloating and get my energy levels back and get the vibrancy in my eyes back and my smile back and my joy back. And I've done that, and I know that you can do that as well. And I know that it's possible for women to do that. So I'm very passionate about it, as you can tell. So I'm just, you know what? I just thought at the end, sod it. I'm just going to put this invitation out there. And if you want to do it, you want to do it. If you don't, absolutely fine. I hope you enjoyed this episode either way, and I hope you got something from it. So I'm just going to close with like a powerful question for you to reflect on. Like, what signs has your body been sending you lately, and how can you start listening? Okay, I'll say that. What signs has your body been sending you lately, and how can you start listening? And then the reminder, if your body could speak to you, and I just want you to know your body's not working against you. Sometimes it can feel like that. Last year, I definitely felt like that. Like, I had no control over my body. It did not matter what I done. I did not feel better. And I was doing all of the things that I was meant to be doing. I was eating healthy. I was going on walks. I was getting out in nature. I was meditating. I was getting my sleep in. I was trying to get more rest in. I was doing all of the things that I thought I was meant to be doing, and nothing was working for me. And it was because I needed to do this deeper level of work and understanding with my nervous system. So your body is not working against you. It's inviting you to reconnect. It just wants some love and it wants some attention. And when you give that to your body, she is going to give back to you tenfold. Again, hands on heart from lived experience, I can say that. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I hope it's been good for you. And yeah, enjoy your day and reflect on that question. I'd love to know what your answer is to it if you want to share that. But have fun, thinking about that. Enjoy your day, and I shall be back next week for another episode. Take care of yourself, from my corner of the world to yours. Thank you. Mwah.